Hello and welcome to the Night Feed. I'm your host, Charlotte, here to bring you some comfort, camaraderie, and conversation and keep you company during, let's face it, one of the toughest parts of being a new parent, the Night Feed. Tonight's unpaid sponsor is going for a walk with the pram and getting absolutely drenched. You've heard it when people say, I look like a drowned rat. Well, I took that to the extreme today. I took them to the library and I was checking the weather on my phone because it was saying chance of rain for most of the day. And I thought, you know what? Sod it. We need to get out. Let's just go to the library. The library is about a 15-20 minute walk away. And we got bundled up. We got in the pram. We go to the library. Great. Lovely. Anyway, it starts to rain lightly. And I thought, well, we need to get back. And you know what? If you live in Manchester, you cannot be scared of rain. It would keep you in all the time, even in July. So I thought, let's go back, let's head back. Anyway, 5 minutes into this walk, the actual heavens opened. And I mean, I'm not being dramatic. The heavens opened and it started hailing. And you know, when the hail stones come like across rather than down. And I was walking along with the pram, bless the girls. I had the hoods down, I put my scarf over their knees, and they were still like, Mama! It was like walking head first into this torrential downpour. And once you've started that walk with the pram, you've kind of committed, especially if you're on your way home. I had no rain cover for the pram and I had a basket full of shopping. And I just thought, you just got to laugh. You have just got to laugh. How are you all? I hope you're keeping well. It's been a really hard few days for my family and I. We lost my wonderful Uncle Les last week, and he meant such an awful lot to the family, and I don't think anything prepares you for loss like that, does it? He was one of those people who just got so much joy from bringing other people joy, and it's been a really heartbreaking time for us. Growing up, he was such a fun person to be around when we were kids, always up for playing, watching cartoons with us, and getting the most thoughtful gifts. Like if you were into a new hobby or a new TV program or anything, you could guarantee the following week there'd be a book about it or a new t-shirt with it on, or just real thoughtful. And he went through a phase of buying my girls toys. Like he had the same relationship with them as he had with us as kids, and seeing it as a parent was just so magical because they adored him. And every time we would go and see him, and then it's not just about the gifts, but he would give them something, and he took so much delight in watching their little faces light up. And he went through this phase about a year ago of buying them Happy Land toys. And when I say he created an entire town for them, I am not exaggerating. We have a baker's, a school, a post office, a train track, an aeroplane, like you name it. And he found such joy in finding those things online for them and then watching them play. So walking into the playroom is like a constant, beautiful reminder of him. And when it comes down to it, it's really not about the things, is it? It's about how much joy that person got from bringing joy. So I'm dedicating this episode to Uncle Les, because there was no one else quite like him. And I do have to apologise as well because I've developed a little bit of a chesty cough, and I'm sat next to a bottle of runny honey because in the night it comes on quite bad, and I'm just having to down runny honey to suppress it a little bit. So I'm sorry if I'm a little bit chesty. That's why my voice sounds a bit forced this evening. But yeah, I'll try not to cough throughout this. I don't know where this has come from, but it's one thing after the other at the moment. I swear to God. Whilst I've been away this week, I've had some emails come in. And this first one, it's a real dilemma, which I'd actually like your help with. So if you've experienced a similar situation, please write to me and I will share any tips you have. Okay, the email says, "Hi Charlotte. Love the podcast, and I've listened to all episodes during the night feeds that are still happening at 6 months old. Wow. I just wanted some advice on my mother-in-law, if I can." Excuse me. Sorry. "I've been struggling recently as she doesn't seem to interact with my little one. Keeps assuming she knows more about him than I do and will continuously wake him from naps or cough into her hands and then put these in his mouth. I've talked to my partner about this, but he just responds, 'That's just my mum and you can't change her.' How would you suggest I repair this relationship, as 6 months postpartum I'm resenting her a lot and I feel like a horrible person? Oh, please keep me anonymous, of course." Firstly, thanks so much for reaching out. I just want to say you are absolutely not a horrible person for feeling this way. You are a brand new mum and you are navigating so many changes, and it is completely natural to feel protective of your baby. It's human instinct. Sorry. Goodness me. It sounds like, to me, your mother-in-law's actions, whether intentional or not, are crossing some big boundaries, really, aren't they? Which is completely valid. I would say the key here is communication, but kind of with boundaries, if you know what I mean. So, for example, if she's waking your baby from naps or ignoring hygiene concerns that you have, quite rightfully, gosh, excuse me. I think you have every right to step in with that, especially if you're conscious of your baby's routine, which I know a lot of us are. I think maybe like a calm but direct approach, something like, "I know you mean well, but when he's sleeping, he really needs his rest, and I'm trying to get him into a routine, so let's let him wake when he's ready to." Um, or with the hands thing, you could maybe say, "Look, we'd like people to use hand sanitizer if they've got a cough. It's just something we've put in place with the baby. It's nothing personal to you. We're really cautious of germs with the baby being so young." And you could reel off some stats. That might not help, but just reminder that the baby's only 6 months and their immune system is still developing. So if you've got a cough, there's a bit of hand sanitizer there. If you could just put a little bit of that on before you pick him up, that would be really great. And I know how awkward you will feel saying that. I know it's such an awkward conversation. But when you have these conversations, all you have to think about is that baby and think, I am protecting my baby. And that is, as a mother, number one priority. And when you think like that, nothing else matters. And the awkwardness of that conversation doesn't matter. And I think if you approach it in a polite way, a friendly way, that it's not personal, even though we know it is a bit, she might listen more, maybe. Now, for her assuming she knows best, I think that's really frustrating. But sometimes a simple, maybe just like, "Thanks for the advice, but we've got a routine that works for us," and that can maybe shut down that advice gently. And then with your partner, "That's just my mum." It isn't super helpful, but I don't think it's uncommon. I think obviously he's grown up with her and he's just like, well, that's how she is. I don't think he's trying to put you down or stick up for her necessarily. I think he's just kind of saying, well, that's my mum. But that isn't helpful to you right now. And I think instead of pushing him to change her, which, like he said, isn't going to happen, try shifting the focus to you and how this affects your well-being as a new mum. Saying something like, I don't want her to feel resentful, but I need some support in managing this. That might get through to him better. And if you say, like, it's affected me, I'm a new mum, all I'm trying to do is protect our son. That's where it's coming from. And that is a mutual number one aim for us both right now, is to protect our son. And I think the way you're approaching this, that you don't want the relationship to get resentful, which is really good of you and really big of you. I think that is important. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Because you don't want this relationship to become more resentful. You don't. And I think the fact that you're looking at this in a way that you want to repair the relationship is really good. And I think that's a good starter when you start talking to your husband about it. Just saying that some of the things she's doing are causing me some resentment. And this is the reason why I'm a new mum and I'm just protecting our son. And I need your help a little bit here. And get him on board like that. And maybe with the whole repair in the relationship, try and find maybe like small ways to include her where you feel comfortable, maybe letting her help with bath time or reading a story, saying, can you read the bedtime story tonight if she's ever there, or little things that aren't going to bug you and that aren't going to, and she's not going to do something that's going to annoy you in that situation, and it can make her feel maybe more involved, like you are needing her. Then she might lay off with the I know better kind of tone. And please as well, give yourself some grace. You are not a horrible person whatsoever. You're 6 months postpartum. You're dealing with all the emotions and complete exhaustion that come with that. And feeling resentful doesn't make you a bad person. It means you're a mum trying to protect your baby. And that's exactly what you should be doing. So I hope this helps. And I'm sending you so much love and support. And if anybody has been in a similar predicament, please email me, thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. Next is a sleep suggestion that's come through. And it says, hello, I wanted to share with you what my husband and I do for sleep with our 2-month-old. We've been doing this for about a month or so now. I go to bed at 8 p.m, sleep until 1 a.m. My husband feeds her a bottle during that time. I breastfeed and pump. At 1 a.m, I take over till 8 a.m. During this time, I feed, and when our daughter is sleeping, I have a camping cot in our room so I can sleep too and not disturb my husband's sleep when I inevitably have to get up. This way, we each get 5-ish hours of sleep minimum and can potentially get more if we sleep next to the cot when she sleeps. I think this is great, and thank you for sending this in. My partner and I did the shifts like this, and I think if you're breastfeeding, something like this does work very well. It did for us, because I think with bottle feeding you can kind of take the shifts a bit more maybe planned out, I guess. Maybe you could say you do them tonight, I'll do tomorrow night, and you can maybe have more of a solid sleep. Whereas with breastfeeding, you do at some point need to be feeding the baby, and I think that's where the shifts come in. We did the same thing, and I think if you're in the first few weeks now and you're really, really struggling and you're exclusively breastfeeding, something like this is worth considering, because the fact that both you and your partner can get a solid sleep, like going to bed at 8, you've got till 1 to get them hours in, I think psychologically really helped me, because I was like, yeah, I know that's my time. And as soon as my head hit the pillow, bam, I was out. And then when 1 a.m. came around, it was like, right, I've had, 5 hours at best. I'm good, I can function. And what you need to remember as well is that baby's only 2 months, I think. These feeds get further and further apart. So I think the shifts kind of for us dropped off a little bit towards maybe when she was like 4 months, I guess. I don't know. It was earlier than that, maybe 3 months. They're going for far less feeds, but it's when they're up every hour or two, you you kind of need that shift, I found. So thank you for sending that in. And I think that's really helpful advice if you are in the early weeks and months. Next email says, I'm exhausted. Oh gosh. Hello, I'm currently 6 weeks postpartum and just wanted to say that the podcast is getting me through some difficult nights. I'm exclusively breastfeeding and finding it super tiring. By 5 p.m, I am completely gone. Then I have the nights to think of, and it feels so constant. Is this how you felt? Am I normal? Oh gosh. Oh, you are so early on still. And yes, it is totally, totally normal. You have to give yourself grace and make sure that when you're feeding, your feet are up and you're seeing it as a true rest for yourself, especially in the day when you can. I think maybe take heed on the previous listener's advice and think about doing shifts if that's something you and your partner can work towards. Maybe introducing whether you can pump when your husband has the baby and you can get a couple of hours rest. That might really, really help. It definitely helped me. And if it's something you can consider and it would work for you both, then that's worth trying. But it just reminds me, my mum actually sent me a post about breastfeeding, which is so apt for your message. So I'm just going to find it and I'll read it out. So it says, producing breast milk takes up about 30% of the body's energy. Your brain, for comparison, only uses about 20%. You are not doing nothing. This is why you're so tired at the end of the day. This is why you're so hungry and thirsty. So, if all you did was feed your baby today, don't let your mind convince you that you didn't do enough. You did enough. You did amazing. And the credit to that is Lizzie Schubert. There you go. Remember that. It takes 30% of the body's energy. Your brain only takes 20%. And I know, yeah, it's easy to think I've just kind of sat today and fed. But you haven't. Your body has worked so hard to nourish the baby. And when I breastfed, I did used to see it as an intentional rest in the day. I know if you have other children, it can be hard to be like, oh, I'm just going to put my feet up and watch Desperate Housewives. But if you can, and be intentional with that rest and be really kind to yourself and know that you are doing a really important job with your body, and it does take it out of you, and it's completely normal for you to feel exhausted. I think if I have any advice, it would be to try and be intentional with your constant drinking, lots of water, lots of fluid, and try and be as healthy as you can with the food. I think porridge, oats for your breakfast, kind of energy food that gives your body fuel to produce that milk. I mean, I was terrible for craving chocolate when I was breastfeeding. I think I just had this real sweet tooth, and I have a sweet tooth anyway. So chocolate, sweets, all that kind of stuff, it is going to come into the picture. You are going to want that and crave that because your body is working so hard. But if you can be intentional with, swapping in healthier bits and bobs, that could actually give you a lot more energy and help with that exhaustion. So I hope that helps. And yeah, just again, it is completely normal to feel how you're feeling. And remember that it does get easier because they'll be weaning soon-ish. And the feeds become further apart, especially in the night. So it does get easier and you will feel less exhausted one day. Next night is what's trending. Okay, so I know this is not new mum related, but I can't not talk about what on God's earth is going on with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. Hell's bells. This case just gets deeper and deeper, doesn't it? I can't help but talk about it because I see it everywhere. And I have found since this all kicked off, I think last year, just swapping sides like nobody's business. So if by some reason, by some stroke of luck, you have avoided this crazy legal circus, then I'll fill you in. So basically, Blake Lively was in a film with a guy called Justin Baldoni. He co-starred in it and directed it. The film's called It Ends With Us. And they're now in this crazy lawsuit. I think there's so many countersuing actions going on. Like, I think, did she sue him first and then he sued her and then she's saying she's going to sue him? It's like back and forth with the litigation and the different cases going on. I think he's suing the New York Times for something she said in the New York Times, and then she's countersuing him for sexual harassment. And now he's come back and he's suing her for defamation because he's saying none of this is true. And I think with anything like this, sexual harassment is so serious because if she has been sexually harassed, then, that's needs dealing with, and that is really, really serious. And then if she hasn't been sexually harassed, equally that needs dealing with because that's a career ender for him, isn't it? I think even having that kind of circulating around your name as a man in that industry is a huge red flag. So he is obviously going to want to fight to get his name cleared if that's not true. And it's so exhausting. It's such a he said, she said. And there's all these TikTok sleuths like delving so deep into this that I can't really keep away from it. Every day there seems to be a new development. And now Blake Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, is involved too. And it doesn't like it's going away. I thought they might have reached a settlement and buried it. But there's been a court date put in for the 9th of March 2026. So it looks like it's staying around. And there's quite a few different opinions on this. Some people are like, oh, they'll settle. They have to settle out of court. It can't go all the way. But then other people are like, the egos involved are too big. You know, she needs to clear her name that she's not made all this up. And he needs to clear his name. Sorry, this cough is so bad. That he's not a sexual predator. So what's going to happen? What do you think? I don't know. I just find it really interesting. I've never seen a case so open like this. I think a few days ago, Justin Baldoni published a website which has a timeline of all the emails and texts between them. And he's released raw footage of the film of a scene where she allegedly was harassed. And he's kept his receipts, this guy. When I read through some of their messages, I wouldn't say that he was being predatory in any way. He just seems really kind and like kind of really grateful to be working with her. But you don't know what goes on. And you can't draw any conclusions, I suppose, until it goes to court. But whether it will or not, I don't know. I think the problem for Blake Lively and Justin Reynolds is that Justin Baldoni is being backed by Wayfarer Studios. They're kind of involved in this legal case. And that studio is owned by a billionaire and he's backing him. So his legal fees are taken care of. The sky's the limit for this guy. Which I think potentially starting to scare Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Maybe, I don't know. Because this is going to be a costly case. And personally, I think it'll settle outside of court. I don't think Blake Lively will want this going to court, whereas Justin Baldoni, I think, will at this point, because he's clearly got the evidence to go all the way with. So who knows? Who knows? My self-care suggestion tonight is, and I've said this before, but get out of the house, go for a walk, even like me in torrential rain. When it starts raining and you think, oh, I'm not going out in that, think of me. I did it and I survived it. My knickers, I think, got wet. I think nothing stayed dry in that torrential downpour, but I survived. It's all good. And I think it does so much for your head, and I think for the kids as well, or the babies. In a change of scenery is great. We literally just went to the library and we were in there for like nearly 2 hours, I think. And they were just playing, they were colouring, there was toys, there's books, and it's just a different setting, isn't it, for you and for them. And it breaks the day up. And I think it's good for you, because I feel like if you're at home with the kids full time, or if you're on maternity leave, it's good to have a lot of purpose to your day. And even just getting out to the library, you've got to get there, maybe you pick some shopping up, maybe you'll go for a coffee, and yeah, it's just good for the soul, I think, getting out. So yeah, I hope that helps. Finally, to finish on a quote I wrote: hang in there, new mama. If you're rubbing your eyes reading this with the volume down at 3 a.m, you're not alone. There's a whole village of us awake with you, holding our babies, fighting to keep our eyes open, milk-stained pajamas, unwashed hair, just doing our best to get through for our newborns. You've got this. You're a superhuman, and you're moving mountains for that little one in your arms right now. Stay strong. This season will soon pass. Oh, thank you for being here. I'm so sorry that I have coughed through this episode. I will try and edit out as many coughs as I can, I promise. hopefully I'll be back on track next week with the weekly episodes. As always, I love putting this podcast out, and I hate to miss putting one out, and I really try my hardest not to. It's just been a difficult time, but we get through these times, and it's just your reminder to hug those close to you a little bit tighter and tell them what you think while they're here, because gosh, it's crazy how life can change in a matter of days, isn't it? So yeah, sending you all love, and I hope you all have a restful night ahead. Good night.